Welcome to 8.4 ellipses. We're going to write equations of ellipses and also graph them. First, let's start with an ellipse. If you take a plane, cut it through one of the cones, but add a slant. Instead of cutting it, you have to go all the way through the cone, you get the ellipse. So the ellipse is the set of all points in a plane such that the sum of the distances from two fixed points is constant. The two fixed points are called the foci of the ellipse. Our standard form for an ellipse is x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1, where 2 times a is the length of the major axis and 2 times b is the length of the minor axis. So again, 2 times a is major, 2 times b is minor. It could switch it where it's x squared over a squared or y squared over a squared. The difference here is horizontal or vertical. So if a is if the major axis is x, then it's horizontal. If the major axis is y, then it's vertical. Our foci is C0, negative C0 if it's horizontal. Vertical is 0C, 0, negative C, where C represents the focus. C squared equals a squared minus b squared is what we're going to do to find C, or to find a or b. So let's look at an example of this. We're going to write the equation ellipse. The major axis is vertical. Therefore, a is going to be with y. So to find the major axis, we just count down from 0, 6 to 0, negative 6. So the major axis length is 12. 2 times a is 12, so a is therefore 6. To find b, because we can't count on this one because it doesn't look like it's on the exact points. So what we're going to do is c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So we're going to do 3, which is our focus, gives us that. Squared equals 6 squared minus b squared. B squared equals, 9 equals 36 minus b squared, so b squared equals 27. The square root of 27 is what b equals. So we're going to write it into standard form. Again, it's vertical, so it's y squared over 6 squared plus x squared over the square root of 27 squared equals 1. Then we're going to square the 6 and the square root of 27, so we get y squared over 36 plus x squared over 27 equals 1. And so that is our equation of our ellipse. Our next one, we're going to write an equation given the length of the axes. In an ellipse, sound or light coming from one focus is reflected to the other focus. In a whispering gallery, a person can hear another person whisper from across the room if the two people are standing at the foci. The whispering gallery at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago has an elliptical cross section that is 13 feet 6 inches by 47 feet 4 inches. So we're going to write an equation to model this ellipse. We're going to assume that the center is the origin and the major axis is horizontal. So the length of the major axis is 47 1/3 or 142 over 3. So 2a equals 142 over 3. So the length of the major axis, we're going to divide by 2, so a equals 71 over 3. The minor axis was 13 1/2, which is 27 halves, so 2b equals 27 halves, therefore b equals 27 over 4. Okay, so that is our a and our b. We're going to substitute a, which is 71 over 3, and b, which is 27 over 4, into x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. And we square it, but this is the equation of our ellipse. Okay. So the next question here is how far apart are the points at which two people should stand to hear each other whisper? People should stand at the two foci in the ellipse. The distance between the foci is 2c. So we need to find c. So we're going to do c squared equals a squared minus b squared, where a is 71 over 3 and b is 27 over 4. So we do 71 over 3 squared minus 27 over 4 squared. We get about 45.37, which is what 2c equals. C equals 22.685. Therefore, 2c equals 45.37. The points where two people should stand to hear each other whisper are about 45.37 feet, or 45 feet and 4 inches apart. Alright, so we could move where the center is. We have been doing where the origin, because that was x squared and y squared. If we subtract h from x and k from y, then we have moved the center. So hk is our center. The foci does change. It's no longer just c, it's now h plus or minus c, comma k, and a reverse is for if it was vertical. So let's look at an example of this. We're going to graph an equation in standard form. We have x squared over 16 plus y squared over 4 equals 1. Then we're going to graph the ellipse. So c squared equals a squared minus b squared. A is the square root of 16, which is 4. B is the square root of 4, which is 2. The center is 0, 0. So then we do 4 squared, which is 16, minus 2 squared, which is 4. So we get 12. The square root of 12 is 2 radical 3 when we simplify it. So the foci are at 2 radical 3, 0, and negative 2 radical 3, 0. You can then use your calculator to find some approximate non-negative values for x and y that satisfy the equation. Since the ellipses is centered at the origin, it is symmetric about the y-axis. Therefore, the points here will work, and they lie on the graph. So then we're going to graph these points. We're going to graph the intercepts, negative 4, 0, 4, 0, 2, 0, or 0, 2, and 0, negative 2, and we get our ellipse here. Our last example, we're going to graph an equation not in standard form. So we have x squared plus 4y squared plus 4x minus 24y plus 24. So we're going to group our x's together, group our y's together, and we're going to complete the square. We want it to be equal to 1, so we're going to subtract negative 24 over, and we're going to eventually get it to equal 1. So to complete the square, 4 divided by 2 is 2, squared is 4, so we're going to add 4. And then negative 6 divided by 2 is 3, squared is 9. So we're going to add 4 and then 9 times 4, which is 36. We're actually going to add 40 to both sides. Then we're going to complete the square, so we got x plus 2 squared plus 4 times the quantity y minus 3 squared, and that equals 16. Since we want it equal to 1, we're going to then divide by 16, so we get the quantity x plus 2 squared over 16, plus, and then the 4 divided by 16 becomes 1/4, so we got y minus 3 squared over 4. So our center is at negative 2, 3, and then our major axis is 4, and it's horizontal, and our minor axis is 2. Okay, then our foci is the 4 squared minus 2 squared, which is square root of 12, which becomes 2 radical 3. And then we're going to subtract that and add it from the center. So it becomes negative 2 plus 2 radical 3, comma 0, and negative 2, negative 2 radical 3, comma 0. Okay, the length of the major axis is still 8 units, and the length of the minor axis is still 4. So we get our graph right here. Alright, good luck on the practice.